Now, making a raw diet isn't all that hard, but there are some important details that can really harm your dog over time if you miss them. So let's talk about the 6 simple but critical parts of raw diets for dogs. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe to this channel, and if you're on YouTube, click the alert notification. Now, I'm going to go over the 6 steps here, but if you want more in-depth review of any of the steps, just watch the videos in this playlist or series, or check out the resources. I've kind of set it up like a raw feeding 101 course to help you build the safest and most nutritious raw diet possible. Okay, so the first step is to make sure that there's not too much fat. Fat is an important part of the raw diet, but it's also nutrient poor. So a diet that contains too much fat will be one that's low in vitamins, minerals, and other important nutrients. How much fat is too much? Well, anything over 15% will mean that your dog gets twice as many calories from fat as protein, and that will be a problem. He'll either need to eat too much food to get enough nutrients, or he won't get enough nutrients. But don't skimp on the fat either. If there's too little fat in the diet, then you'll start to see itchy skin and a harsh, brittle coat. So aim for about 10 to 15% fat and not much more. And this includes any oils that you add to the food. Now, if you're not sure how much fat is in your dog's food, check out the resources for more information. Now, the next important step is to get the minerals right. Along with enzymes, minerals are like little keys that turn on all of the important processes in your dog, like making hormones or energy. So if your dog doesn't get enough minerals, then things can go really wrong really fast. But don't let that scare you. It's pretty easy to get the minerals right. You just need to feed your dog bones as a mineral source. But you do need to give the right amount of bone, and that's about 12 to 15% of his diet. Now, most of the bones that we would feed raw dogs, things like turkey necks or chicken backs, they all contain meat and not just bone. So to get the right amount of bone, then you need to feed meaty bones as about 1/3 to 1/2 of your dog's meals. The bonier they are, then the less you need to feed. And again, I'll have a link in the resources. Just click it, and I've got a list of bone content in common bones to help you out, and there's also a more in-depth video. Okay, so now that you've got enough of the major minerals from bone, the next step is to add some trace minerals and vitamins. And the best sources of these nutrients is organ meats. The organs are Mother Nature's multivitamins, so don't skimp on them, because most people do. You'll see a lot of raw guides that say to feed 10% organ meat, but that's not enough. Most animals are about 25% organ meat, and each organ has unique nutrients, so you need to find as many as you can. Now, the organs that you absolutely must have in the raw diet are liver and heart. 5 to 10% of your dog's diet should be liver, and 2 to 5% should be heart. But don't stop there. Add kidney, spleen, pancreas, and even lung, brain, eyes, sweetbread, and green tripe. If you can get a few of these organs, then add them to your dog's meals as another 5 to 10%. But just be sure to add them slowly, because the super rich organs can cause diarrhea if your dog isn't used to them. Okay, now the next step is to balance the fats, because too much of some fats can be harmful for your dog. So you need to limit the amount of 2 fats in your dog's diet: saturated fats and omega-6 fats. Now, saturated fats are mainly found in beef and red meats. And while your dog needs them, if he eats too many of them, then they'll start to cause unwanted changes in his gut bacteria. Now, since these little bugs control his immune system, we don't want to mess with them. So the easiest way to balance out the saturated fats is to feed both red meats and poultry. Poultry is richer in polyunsaturated fats, and this will balance out the saturated fats. Now, if your dog has food sensitivities and he can't eat poultry or pork, then you can feed grass-finished beef, which is much lower in saturated fats, or you can feed rabbit, which is a nice low-fat choice. So now that you've got the saturated fats in check, you need to look at the omega-6 fats. These are pro-inflammatory fats, and they need to be balanced with the anti-inflammatory omega-3 fats. Now, the reason you need to pay attention to this is because modern food animals are fed some pretty inappropriate foods like grains. Animals that eat grains and feeds contain a lot more omega-6 fats than those that are raised on pastures. And the worst offenders are poultry and pork. While wild animals will have about 2 to 3 times more omega-6 fats than omega-3, pork and poultry can have more than 20 times more. And this is worse if you feed the skin. Never feed skin from pork and poultry unless they're raised on pasture. It's just too inflammatory. Okay, so what do we do about these inflammatory fats? Well, if you're rotating poultry and pork with red meats, then you're off to a really good start. If your dog can only tolerate poultry, then just be sure to never feed the skin. But don't stop there, because chronic inflammation is the cause of all chronic disease like cancer, allergies, and joint disease. So you'll want to add anti-inflammatory omega-3 oils to the diet to keep your dog's immune system as healthy as possible. Now, with that said, please don't use fish oil. The oceans are being drained of fish, squid, and krill, and it's completely unsustainable. And besides, fish oil only contains one anti-inflammatory fat, ETA. I recommend Greenland mussel oil because it contains more anti-inflammatory fats than fish oil, plus it's sustainable. I think we all need to play a role in protecting the oceans. Now, you'll also want to add another anti-inflammatory fat called GLA, and this only comes from plant sources, and the best source is ahi flour. But there are smaller amounts in hemp seed and evening primrose oil. So be sure to add these to your dog's food only every single day. They're critical for keeping that dangerous inflammation to a manageable amount. Okay, now there's just 2 steps left. Step 5 is to add vegetation. Fruits, berries, and veggies should all be about 10% of your dog's diet. And I'll tell you, it's a mistake to skip this step. Wild dogs and wolves naturally scavenge for vegetation, and that's because there's something found in plants that's not found in animal products, polyphenols. Now, polyphenols can't actually be digested by your dog. Most of them pass right through his digestive tract to the colon, but that's where they work their magic. They feed beneficial bacteria species there, and in return, the bacteria will make vitamins K, D, and B, and they'll make amino acids and enzymes. Plus, they'll poop out anti-inflammatory substances called short-chain fatty acids. And these guys will bolster up the gut lining, which protects your dog from viruses and food allergies. Plus, they reduce chronic inflammation and fight oxidative damage. Now, all of these health benefits go away if you don't feed vegetation. And research shows that dogs that eat veggies have a lower risk of cancer. Now, the best plants to add are cruciferous veggies like broccoli and kale, along with low-sugar fruits like blueberries and cranberries. All right, so you've got a nicely balanced raw diet already, but there's one more step. You have to add in a trace mineral called manganese and probably some vitamin D. Now, manganese is an important mineral, but most of it has been stripped out of the soils and your dog thanks to glyphosate or Roundup. This chemical loves to bind to minerals, and especially manganese, so you need to make sure that you add it back into the diet. If your dog doesn't have enough, then his joints are at risk and his overall health. Now, the richest source of manganese is fur and feathers. So if you can feed treats or animal parts with the fur and feathers on, then your dog will get a good amount of manganese. And this is another reason why dogs don't get enough manganese. We don't feed the fur. Now, if you can't get the furry parts, then you can add blue mussels, oysters, or other shellfish because they're also rich in manganese. Now, vitamin D is a tough one because it's hard to know just how much dogs need or just how much they have because it's actually a hormone and not a vitamin. But if you want to be safe, then food-based sources of vitamin D are a good idea. Now, it's important to avoid vitamin D supplements because it's really easy to give too much, and excess vitamin D is super hard on your dog's kidneys and can even cause kidney failure and death. So natural sources are best. Now, you can get natural vitamin D from mushrooms that are exposed to sunshine, egg yolks, especially from pastured hens, and greenlet mussels. Now again, fish is a good source of vitamin D, but I really hope that by now you'll join me and protect the oceans from overfishing. And besides, fish contains heavy metals, dioxin, mercury, and PCBs, so it's really not a healthy choice. So those are the 6 simple steps to feed a fresh, raw diet. If you want to dig any deeper into any of these steps, look at the resource links in the description or watch the other videos in this playlist or series. And if you have any questions, just leave a comment and we're always here to help. And if you like this video, please make sure you like it, share it, and tell people about it. Thanks for watching.